Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Hello, everybody. This is episode 98 of the Near Memo with David, Mike, and Greg, where we talk about search, social, and commerce, and increasingly artificial intelligence with a local lens, through a local lens. And today we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence yet again, the Google business profile forms and problems with Google's local product and support issues that Mike has been dealing with firsthand. And we're also going to be talking about a new product from Campaign Manager product from Mailchimp, which is interesting. So I think we said that, David, you were going to start, right?
Okay, great.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk about Mailchimp's new announcement of Campaign Manager, which I'm not exactly sure how Mailchimp would describe it. To me, it feels like a new product within the sort of Mailchimp suite of tool, a new tool.
Didn't
anyway.
they define it as a single source of
Yes,
truth?
they did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That was the language.
Well, I'm not going to use their marketing language, but just in terms of orienting yourself, like it's a pretty big set of features inside of Mailchimp. So whatever you want to call that, that's kind of what it is. There's a couple interesting things just contextually about Mailchimp, I think, that might help set the stage for this. The first is, since getting acquired by Intuit, whatever, a year ago or so, they're making I've never seen so many Mailchimp ads everywhere. NFL games, NBA games, like everything I watch anyway, they're on television, they're advertising on podcasts, which I think they've always done to some extent. But like Intuit is clearly putting some resources behind getting Mailchimp out there, which I think is interesting in and of itself. I mean, so many of these acquisitions, the acquired company just sort of sits on the vine, and that's not happening here, which I think we have to give Intuit
and they
credit.
have not done that with other acquisitions in the past.
Yeah. So I think, I have no idea how internally how the acquisition's gone, but externally they are definitely, putting their money where their previous money was. It feels like. The second thing I'd say is they seem to be, partly as a segue from this sort of larger presence that they're trying to create, they're seemingly going pretty horizontal with their targeting, which I think is an interesting approach. It sort of positions them more in the sort of GoDaddy suite than it does in the or GoDaddy set of competitors than it does in sort of a vertical marketing platform or something that's specifically for service businesses or specifically for e-commerce businesses. They're really trying to go after essentially every small business. And it feels to me anyway that from their marketing, at least, that they're going after very early stage small businesses in a way that I'm not sure that they did prior to the Intuit acquisition. So I think prior to the Intuit acquisition, most of their features were geared towards slightly more sophisticated folks. They always had this sort of free tier at the bottom, we'll see whoever comes in. But a lot of their sort of increasing features were geared towards a more sophisticated user. And that's actually going back to the Campaign Manager launch, I think it looks like a really compelling product. It's essentially a marketing planner where you can tag a campaign with certain attributes. You can set a date range that it's running. You can set reminders and add your team members and that sort of stuff. Like it's a pretty full suite marketing planner. And to me, that feels like it's actually geared at a very different customer than who they're advertising for. It feels like if I put myself in the shoes of my Prosper Portland clients who are, I would argue, in this sort of very early stage small businesses, just getting started, might have a website, aren't doing email largely. It seems like it's overbuilt for that audience. So I'm just wondering kind of like what the overall strategy is for Mailchimp here, like where they see themselves fitting in. I feel like this is something that would be really useful actually for agencies with multiple clients, but none of their marketing materials really talked about using it that way. I feel like they're in a little bit of a hard spot because I can totally see, I can see like the Squarespaces of the world seeing this and being like, oh, we can totally do this. And like all these other sort of website oriented platforms as opposed to email oriented platforms, I think could really, sort of knock this tool off and might even do a better job with it. But I just wanted to highlight, like, it's a really compelling product, I think, from the outside, at least. But I wonder if it's going to really hit the mark with the audience that they seem to be going after post acquisition.
I think what's interesting is, to me, and I don't know this from any conversations with anybody, is it may be that they are trying to align the Intuit, whatever the remaining accounting software that exists at Intuit, align
QuickBooks,
those,
for sure.
Yeah, QuickBooks, align those customers, right? So the QuickBooks, I think, is designed for
QuickBooks Online. The QuickBooks, the individual QuickBooks has been spun out, but QuickBooks Online is still with Intuit.
So I think that's for a very small business customer. It probably expands up to a certain level of complexity, and I suspect they're trying to align the Mailchimp target and the mainstream Intuit business customer, which probably skews smaller. But I think, David, you're completely right that the positioning of the targeting of this very small business and the sophistication of the campaign manager are probably not a good fit there.
It seems like, to me, it feels like it's geared at a business that has at least an employee who at least half of their job is marketing. Like, it's somebody who's a very serious marketer,
and they're using multiple
channels. It doesn't feel to me that that's their actual audience. It's their actual audience is business owners themselves, who are the ones typing up the special or whatever and sending it out. And they might remember to do that on a Monday morning when they get to the office, but they're not going to put this level of sophistication into mapping out a content strategy and an ad strategy, and
which
has
multiple,
which this product is really
channels.
useful for. I think. Yeah.
I just a note about QuickBooks, though. At Local U, we used to use it, but they just continued to raise the prices to the point where a single operator or a 2-operator business couldn't afford it. So clearly they had moved up in the hierarchy of businesses with QuickBooks. I don't know to what level, because when I left it, they were charging quite a bit. So you'd have to have many vendors, multiple employees, all that sort of stuff to make it worthwhile. So maybe their client base is more sophisticated in that product these days.
Well, that's an interesting strategy. It's not the sophistication of the product; it's the affordability of the product that moves up market. Well,
right.
The traditional trajectory of SaaS companies is, look at this giant small business market. Look at how, here's the TAM and here's the revenue potential. And then they discover how difficult it is to operate at this low end of the market. And then everybody pretty much moves up market, to mid-market or to enterprise. I mean, I spoke to Calendly the other day, and, they have a small business user base, but their marketing focus is on the enterprise now, because that's where the revenue is.
And again, another company that has raised their prices and made their paid product sort of a little pricey for the single operator business like me. So I downgraded to the free product, which was fine.
Yep.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.